I cannot believe that it's August already and back to school is here or on deck for most of us. That means new rhythms and routines, whether figuring out how to get out the door in the morning or having a plan for what happens between the end of the school day and dinner and beyond. Fat Brain Toys is here to help with at least one aspect of that new schedule. With their fidget and sensory toys that help busy brains unwind at the end of a long day, Fat Brain Toys offers a variety of child-driven play experiences that will keep both their mind and their body active. Almost all of the toys and games are screen-free, but what I appreciate most about Fat Brain Toys is that they encourage kids to get creative and explore the world around them through open-ended play. And if you have a young builder, architect, sculptor, maker living under your roof, you'll want to check out the Plip Kit. It comes with over 45 flexible pieces kids can use to create complex prisms, swirling patterns, really anything that they want. And the special Plip Connect system is designed with easy ball and socket ends that make this flexible construction kit an especially satisfying experience for kids who may be working on their fine and gross motor skills. Fat Brain Toys is a family-run business that has been curating and creating quality toys, games, and gifts that both entertain and educate for more than 20 years. Fat Brain has put together a collection of toys for our families. Go to fatbraintoys.com/tilt to get 10% off all the items in the Tilt collection when you use the code TILT at checkout. And find out for yourself why Fat Brain Toys is a smarter way to play. I'm Debbie Reber, and welcome to Tilt Parenting, a podcast featuring interviews and conversations aimed at inspiring, informing, and supporting parents raising differently wired kids. I get a lot of questions from listeners looking for help navigating complex situations with their kids. So in this new mini episode format, I'll be answering listener questions, sometimes all on my own, sometimes with one of the parent coaches from the Differently Wired Club, and sometimes with an author or expert who's become a trusted resource. Think of these bite-sized, short and sweet parent-leaning episodes as a quick check-in. One question, one answer, featuring strategies, tips, or reframes that can support you in your parenting world. To submit a question for a parent-lean-in episode, just go to tiltparenting.com/lean-in. That's tiltparenting.com/LEANIN. All right, here's today's episode. Hey everybody, I am here today with my dear friend, my wise colleague, Seth Perler, for this Parent Lean-In episode. Seth has been on the show a bunch of times before. You should go back and listen to some of those episodes. There's gold in the archives. But if you're new to him, he's an executive function coach and a consultant. He has a ton of experience addressing extraordinarily diverse learning needs. He's passionate about meeting the unique needs of students, and he is really focused on addressing social, emotional, lifestyle, and executive function issues in order to help students experience success. You can get a lot of great resources from Seth's website, sethperler.com. And if you want to work more closely with Seth, definitely check out his new Executive Function Lab, which is where he coaches people on how to get big results for their struggling students. He's got a ton of tools on there. It's a great community, and you can learn more about that. Seth, what's the URL for that?
executivefunctionlab.com.
Easy peasy. So that's in the show notes. Check that out. But Seth, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Debbie? Let's dive in.
Let us dive in. Okay. So this question was submitted from a listener. I'm not sure the age of the child. I'll say that up front. But here's the question. What do you do when your son's adolescent impulsivity leads him to continually cross the line, causing disturbances in class, jumping over walls and fences of private property, stealing money, etc.? When confronted, he thinks it's hilarious. Unless we get really angry, he doesn't seem to think it's serious. But if we get really angry, we end up with blowups. With trying to be calm and supportive, it feels he's getting away with things and rapidly heading in the wrong direction. What do you advise? So what do you advise, Seth? I'd love you to start us off.
Well, it's hard to advise because I don't know the family. I mean, I'll give you some of my thoughts on this and don't know the age and stuff. But let's start here. It's scary. This is really scary. This reminds me of myself as a teen, and I was getting a lot of trouble and doing a lot of things that I am not proud of, and turning it around and turning the corner with this. My parents didn't know what's going on. So it's good. It's good at least that you seem to know what's going on, but it's scary reading this. So the first thing that I want to say is that I would quote advise is get help. This is real life. This is real. Get help. Don't wait. And there are two different types of help. One, there's parents get help, meaning that we all, and Debbie and I talk a lot about our own deep inner work, but we all have dysfunction and maladaptive behaviors and things that we've learned from where any context that we've grown up in. And so we've all have that. And the more aware we are of that stuff, the more we can address it, the more we can learn our own emotional regulation and things like that, the better off our kids are going to be. The more we are modeling self-care, modeling tools that our kids can use to regulate, things like that. And then in terms of getting help for our child, medication comes to mind. If there's that much impulsivity, and I know a lot of people are anti-meds, and a lot are not, but meds are not a black and white thing. The fact is that medications can be absolute game changers for a lot of families. And sometimes some meds for executive function or for ADHD, sometimes the day people start, they can see a tremendous change. So when it comes to impulsivity like this, these are impulsive decisions, and executive function has everything to do with a lot of things, but decision making. It does have to do with impulsivity, and it has to do with emotional regulation, which I hear in this email. It has to do with future thinking and our ability to think through consequences, good and bad. So executive function has everything to do with that. And medication can help, sleep, obviously. So anyhow, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is don't wait, like get help. And then when they're talking about that confronting their child with it, thinking what it feels like for us, the people listening, to be confronted. The word confronted, what the implication of that is. It usually feels, if you think about polyvagal theory or Julia Caldwell's like above and below the line, it feels pretty trapped, like a caged animal. Like being confronted is like very uncomfortable, and it gets us into a fight, flight, or freeze state where we can feel pretty stuck. And what we want to do is not necessarily be honest and work through a problem, but is to get free of feeling stuck and scared and trapped. So if we're confronting it, just thinking about how we are communicating about these things. Now, you also said trying to be calm. So that's a different tone than the confronting. So, either way, I just be aware of like the communication and things like, I think punishments are very misunderstood. Rewards are very misunderstood. Consequences are very misunderstood. Like them getting away with things does send a message, absolutely, that you can get away with things. So that but in terms of how we deal with that, and I don't know enough about the situation to give advice on that right now, but in terms of how we deal with that so that they're not, quote, getting away with it, that requires time, real conversations, like we were talking about in a different episode, and really planning and thinking through how to approach our child, stepping back, and because, things can really get worse here. Mm-hmm. And I guess my last thought, Debbie, is when they said, unless we get really angry, he doesn't think it's serious. And once we're angry, then we're dysregulated. And then our nervous system is telling their nervous system to become dysregulated or to avoid becoming dysregulated. What's one way to avoid becoming dysregulated? Don't take any of it seriously. Act like it's hilarious. That's a great way to do that. So, and then I have one other thought that I'll get to at the end, but what are your thoughts? What does this bring up for you, Debbie?
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate everything you shared. I have some thoughts to add to that, and we'll do that after a quick break. Our family has just moved back to Amsterdam, the land of beautiful canals and weather that can turn on a dime. It's also a city where we're outside on foot or bike every single day, so what I'm wearing has to comfortably get me through whatever the day has in store. Even an out-of-the-blue downpour like the one Darren and I got caught in while shopping for a cat litter box, a fan, and a few other essentials for our new place. You guys already know that I'm a big fan of Vessie's waterproof shoes. Our whole family wears them, so I'm really jazzed about this new vintage-style shoe Vessie's just come out with. They're called Courtside Classics, and they're a 90s inspired shoe that look great with just about any outfit while also being super comfortable. Like my other Vessies, the Courtside Classics are easy slip-ons with Vessie's signature snug, cozy fit because of the shoe's padded tongue and collar. I so appreciate what the Vessi brand is all about, encouraging people to enjoy the benefits of getting outside no matter the forecast. Whether it's going for a walk for a mental reset, standing on the sidelines of the world's soggiest soccer field, or getting the dog out for a spin around the neighborhood, Vessi's make sure we can enjoy it all while avoiding any of that dreaded wet socks experience. Step up your style with Vessi Courtside Classics, their latest waterproof sneakers reminiscent of the 90s. Head to vessi.com/tilt for waterproof shoes that go with all your outfits and get an automatic 15% off your first order at checkout. That's vessi.com/tilt to receive your 15% discount. In these hot, humid August days in the Northeast, it's really easy to get dehydrated, especially if you're out and about exercising or gardening or just running around juggling all the things like the parent you are. But what I've learned is that being optimally hydrated involves more than just making sure you drink enough water or lemonade or iced tea. The science shows that it means optimizing your body's fluid ratios, including electrolytes. That's why these days I've been staying hydrated with Element. Element is a zero-sugar drink mix designed for better hydration, created with a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. That strong dose of electrolytes matters because while electrolyte deficiency or imbalance can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog, and weakness, optimal electrolyte levels can help do things like reduce muscle cramps, promote better sleep, and support better digestion. Since I've been taking Element, I've noticed a boost in my energy levels and also just feeling more generally on top of things when it comes to my ability to do focused, productive work. And I'm pretty psyched about that because I'm juggling perhaps a few too many things at the moment and I need all the help I can get. Element has a special free gift with purchase for our Tilt parenting community. Get your free Element sample pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/tilt. That's drinklmnt.com/tilt. Also, try the new Element Sparkling, a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. These days, I'm embracing any and all systems and products that give me simple ways to support my family while reducing my personal stress. And that's exactly what HelloFresh is all about. With HelloFresh, I can skip trips to the grocery store and make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Side note, HelloFresh was the very first meal kit our family started using years ago. In fact, it was over HelloFresh dinners that I talked with Darren and Ash about my big plans for Tilt parenting way back when. And it was through HelloFresh that we really started adding food diversity and a love of cooking back into our lives. With a changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from each week, HelloFresh makes it easy to always find something that will hit the spot for everyone in the family. Their easy-to-follow recipes include pre-portioned ingredients delivered fresh, so no last-minute grocery store run required. Just choose your delivery date, open your box, and get cooking. And HelloFresh's line of kid-friendly family options means even the pickiest of eaters will be part of the Clean Plate Club this back-to-school season. And Greene Chef, who is also a sponsor of this show, is now owned by HelloFresh. And with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's really something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now my listeners can enjoy both brands at a discount with me. And for a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/tiltkids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/tiltkids. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. So one thing I just want to share as a resource, again, we don't know the age of this child, but as you were talking, Seth, I was thinking of Dr. Dan Siegel's book, Brainstorm, which is about the teenage brain. I learned so much about what is typical and what our kids' brain is supposed to be doing. And part of that is like taking risks, not thinking through the consequences of our actions, being very impulsive. And so if you have a neurodivergent student who already is impulsive, it can be a very challenging time. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's just a great resource if that is the age that we're talking about.
Agreed.
Yeah, a couple things that came up for me. One is I just want to throw out collaborative and proactive solutions from Dr. Ross Greene, because as I'm reading this, I'm thinking that there's got to be some payoff, whether it's dopamine, whether it's getting a reaction, whether it's positive or negative attention, whether it is getting some need met. there's a payoff and there's a reason this is happening. So I would get really curious. And if you can do this in collaboration with your child, not when the stakes are high, like at a time that's very removed from the situation, try to see if you can identify what is that unmet need? What is that lagging skill? There's probably multiple skills, but trying to hone in on something and then doing that collaborative and proactive solutions process together with your child to see if you can address it. That's one way to go. I don't know if that, depending on the dynamic, if that works, but I wanted to put that out there. And another thing that jumped out at me, and you touched upon this too, I think we can both agree that getting angry and escalating is not like a great plan. And I've done it before, for sure, with my kiddo, and it is like pouring fuel on the fire. So I want to acknowledge that. And also, you said with trying to be calm and supportive, it feels like he's getting away with things. So when I read that, what I was thinking about, what you're making it mean that you're not getting angry. What are you making it mean? So you might be making it mean that he's getting away with something. Well, that doesn't feel good. My kid's getting away with all this stuff, and I'm just standing by and watching it happen. And so then we start shaming ourselves and we start judging ourselves. So that's something I would reframe. And here are a couple ideas. I was thinking if I were in your situation, I'd be reframing. I'm staying calm so that I can co-regulate and that the window for learning or growth is more available. So I'm not letting my kid get away with something. This is what I'm doing. I'm staying calm because I know that my child isn't doing this to upset us or to be bad. He's communicating something to us. Mm-hmm. I'm staying calm because that makes it more likely that we can have productive interactions centered around helping my child learn these skills and get those needs met in more adaptive ways. So even kind of that internal dialogue about what does it mean if I don't react? You're not letting your kid get away with something. There is a very good reason to react more calmly. And so that can take some of the pressure off of yourself, which can allow you to respond more thoughtfully, which makes your kind of calm brain more available to think more effectively about how to navigate this, whether it's in the moment or at another time when you're trying to problem solve with your kids. So just putting that out there.
So good. Yeah. For those of you who like to take notes, rewind what Debbie just said and type all that out and keep it handy because those were brilliant. Those are fantastic. Yeah. The last thought that I kind of had with this, Debbie, is just sort of on the other side of it. Like this child, there's a need that's not being met. And what I was thinking about is I wasn't thinking about it in that context at the time, but basically what are some needs that could be met? And the two things that I came up with is service and enrichment. So one is getting your kid involved in service, whether it's service to animals that your kid likes or service to younger kids or some type of people who need service, some way to serve, some way to do something for others, to be helpful to others, something that is purposeful. We all want the same thing. We all want to feel like we matter. We all need to feel like we matter. We all need to matter. And of course, our kids matter to us. That does not mean that we feel like we matter. So he needs to feel he matters. And so what opportunities are there for service where he might feel like he matters? And then what opportunities are there for enrichment? So from the gifted and talented world, there's this idea of enrichment. And that's really getting involved with things that are related to your kid's strengths or talents or interests or passions or things that matter to them or things that they've never tried before. But what kinds of things can they get involved in? Like, I want to see this kid get involved in service and crazy enrichment programs or crazy groups or, like cool opportunities in the community. There's so many things to get your kid involved in and really think creatively and outside the box of things you wouldn't normally think about that your kid can get involved in, that they can try out and that they can really, again, similar to service with the enrichment, they can feel like it matters, like they matter, like there's purpose, like there's meaning. Because this is a child who's really looking to have experiences that are fun, that are thrilling, that are, we talked about risk and risk aversion earlier, but this kid is not very risk averse. They really like adrenaline and these sorts of things. And like, what are safe, cool, interesting ways that they can do things like that in healthy ways? Mm-hmm. There are tons of them. So really think outside the box and try out a bunch of things. That's my final thought.
I love that. I got nothing to add. I think that's a great note to end this on. Just stack up some wins and some positive experiences and use this as a strength. What a great reminder. Thank you, Seth, for sharing your wisdom today. I want to thank the listener for sending in this question. If you have a question that you'd like us to address on a future episode, you can share that with us at tiltparenting.com/leanin. So that's all for now. Thanks again, Seth, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Thanks, Debbie.
You've been listening to the Tilt Parenting Podcast. To learn more about the resources mentioned in this Parent Lean In episode, go to the extensive show notes page on tiltparenting.com. To submit a question for a future episode, just go to tiltparenting.com/leanin. That's tiltparenting.com/LEANIN. If you're looking for personal support from me in connection with the phenomenal community of parents raising neurodivergent kids, join us in the recently rebooted Differently Wired Club. The new Differently Wired Club can help you cultivate the positive shifts you're hoping for. Go to tiltparenting.com/club to learn more. The Tilt Parenting Podcast is hosted by me, Debbie Reber, author of Differently Wired and the founder of Tilt Parenting. To support this show, please join my Patreon campaign where you can set up a small monthly contribution. Just go to patreon.com/tiltparenting to learn more. If you want to follow Tilt on social media, go to @tiltparenting on Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, please take a minute to leave a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps this show stay visible so others can find it more easily. And that's all for this week. Stay safe, stay well, and take good care. And for more information about any of the parenting resources Tilt offers, visit tiltparenting.com.
If you're a parent, I invite you to join us at the Mindful Mama podcast, where it's all about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. With sometimes hilarious and always thought-provoking experts and friends, at Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you have calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm Hunter Clark Fields, and I can't wait to see you there. Listen in to the Mindful Mama podcast.